Today's Transformational Thursday because she's actually a friend.
Yes.
Okay. And as much as she looks 22, okay, we go way back like a Maybach. And I remember there's Cactus, by the way. And remember they used to have the best ice cream?
Yes.
And the best cakes?
Yes.
What is it now? Do we know?
I have no idea. No one
goes into the CBD.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This is my favorite day of the week, as you know, because it's all about aspiring to inspire. I call this that lovely blend between a TED Talk and an Engage. We basically bring you pioneers, people whose life's journeys epitomize that word that we call grit. And she's a pathfinder in so many ways. My dude, my producer, Jeff, my left-hand man, it's very nice. He tries to, put profiles together. It's like, she's sending it to HR. And when I read our guest story, and I didn't know all of this, but clearly I've experienced all of this because we literally grew up together. She's a media and communications professional. Okay? And she's incoming editor of Debunk Media. We're going to talk about that. She's got 27 years experience in newsroom management and leadership, editing and writing. She has worked as a print and digital journalist and editor at some of the biggest media houses in East Africa. She has worked right here at the Standard Group, formerly across the street where she's at the NMG, where she served as editor of the Saturday magazine. The first, if I'm not mistaken, were you the first lady?
The first female editor of the Saturday Nation, in which the Saturday magazine.
Thank you. I knew that when I read down, I was like, well done, Wayua. There we go. I'm going to ask you to send some M-Pesa. But then again, okay, yes. And then later, yes, the Saturday Nation itself. She also created and founded, I love this one. And did you know? Pulse magazine. Yes, that one. For the Friday Standard. That's tomorrow's Standard. She was the brains and the creator behind that. And she served as the editor of True Love, East Africa, Eve Girl, and Eve magazines. Her last role was at NMG, where she also served as lead for Digital Content Products Department. She is a graduate of KU, where she studied sociology and French. Oh, bonjour.
Oh, bonjour.
And she acquired all of her newsroom training in the newsroom. She is now a content creator and producer, host, and marketer for the Failure Effect podcast, available on all audio streaming platforms and on YouTube. I give you my friend, Wayua Muli.
Thank
you. Every Thursday, I do say that the Waswahili wako na this saying, especially in TZ, that in life, and they use the mountain Kilimanjaro. Mm-hmm. When you climb it, it takes 5 days to get to the summit. 4 days to get to the summit, then 1 day to come back down. And every day, it's pole, mdogo. You climb up, acclimatize, you come back down in the evening to sleep. So it's up and down. You finally get to the summit. They tell you, relax, you're now at top of the world. Mm-hmm. But after 15 minutes is, guess what? Mm-hmm. Yes, you're now at the top. But you're still only halfway there. You've got to get down. There's no helicopter that's coming to get you. Yeah. That's half the journey. And most mountaineers will tell you it's on descent that a lot of stuff happens.
Yes.
Death, injuries, nini, because, your mind basically, the focus disappears. Mm-hmm. So, the thing about you, Wayua, is that your focus is always constantly present. Who's Wayua?
Do you want me to answer that?
No, yes, because I want us to go. When I say who's Wayua Muli, there she is, here she is. We're in primary school. Where are we?
So I attended primary school in two interesting places. There was State House Primary School, which was right next to State House.
Yes.
Over there, Pale Arboretum.
Yes.
In the corner.
Yes.
So President Moi at the time,
Yes.
whenever he needed, I don't know, to do some small PR, he would finish his daily activities, getting people arrested by special branch or whatever. Oh, oops. Then come on over to the school in the evening and find us two strugglers, the ones who our parents sort of forgot to pick us up after school, So then he would always come with milk.
Right.
Yeah, that maziwa ya nyayo.
Yes.
And lots of chewing gum. And lots of biscuits and distribute them to us and then give us a speech about, being watoto wa nyayo. So there was that. Then I moved to City Primary School, which is actually where I first started podcasting.
Is that the one in town?
City Primary, yes, it's in Ngara. Next to Jamhuri.
Okay.
So Jamhuri Boys and City Primary used to be one big school that was very, very important to the, colonial government.
Right.
Then they split it up. But the most important thing is that the school was next door to the Kenya Institute of Education.
KIE.
Yes, which is now the KICD.
Yes.
So the Kenya Institute of Education would record radio lessons, for people to listen to in the afternoon. So your agriculture, your English, all 2 p.m. afternoons, there would be radio classes on VOK at the time.
Yes.
Whenever they needed talent to voice the people, they didn't have to go far. They'd walk over to City Primary School and find the people to voice the talent. So I found myself being auditioned for the role of Mary in a book called Hello Children.
Okay.
Yeah. So my
Hold on. Yeah. You remember that from KBC? Hello Children?
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
So I got the role of Mary. My classmate Douglas ended up as Tom.
Buzz.
And Mr. Kamau, the father, was read by David Mulua, an actor of note. Yes. Right? For me, it was a really fun way to Skype class. Other people are doing Madafu. They're being asked, what is a quarter of 2/3 of an eighth. Mimi, I am in the studio.
at KBC.
At KIE.
At KIE,
rather,
sorry.
Because then KIE would distribute through,
I get it.
Through KBC at the time, VOK.
Right, VOK.
So we'd go there in the mornings, read the whole afternoon, and we'd do it I think for about a week of intense sessions, and then wait a month and then do another week of intense sessions, because then the shows had to be edited and distributed to VOK, who would then flight. But
they have it. That is the original podcast. That's so true.
Yeah.
And wait, this is mid 80s, ne?
Yes. Now, this is in 87, 88.
So they auditioned you because you were talented, or they auditioned you because you were there? Because at State House, it's because the folks were late picking you up.
Yeah.
No. That's a funny story, by the way. Like it now, City Primary. Is it because it was a process of elimination, and we got the best of the best? Ama, it's just because you're like, Iki Piki Ponki, there's no one else here. It was after school, and then you're like, okay.
No, it was they needed someone with clean English.
There we go.
Yeah, that was it. It was really it. They wanted someone whose accent was not distinguishable. They didn't want you to sound Luo or Kikuyu or whatever. They wanted clean English, so that was what I brought.
Do you know one of the things that has always kept me on the same page with Wayua is that her brutal honesty. Love it. So, okay, so now when they get you at the KIE and they say you're going to play Mary, do they tell your folks or do they tell your teachers?
Both, because as a minor you cannot receive payment. Okay, so they have to tell your parents, and your parents also have to consent to your voice and to handling financial affairs for you. They also need to know why you're missing classes.
Sharp.
Okay, so they let the school administration know, and then they also let your parents know.
Right. So you started in this vocation when you were how old? Let's put an age to it. It's not right to ask a lady age, but you're not tight. So how old were you
when I was about 11 years old.
11 years old.
Yeah.
You started earning money at 11.
Yes.
Okay. So then we're done at City Primary.
Yeah.
Clearly, Mary then does grow up.
Yes, she does. Now she's got dreadlocks and tattoos.
Where does Wayua go to? Secondary. Went secondary school. Did we go back to State House? No.
No, we didn't go to State House. So I was a very bad student. I mean, obviously, because I was busy recording. Yes. So I ended up in Ngara Girls, to the eternal shame of my family, which is a family of academics. I come from a family of I went to Alliance.
Bus.
As did you.
Yes.
So everyone
They introduce each other with student numbers. 07865.
Yes.
1964.
Thank you.
I think pisses me off like that, by the way. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. But then now here I am. I'm in Ngara Girls. My mother is like, I. As a matter of fact, she told me in Form 3, the way your grades are going, you're not going to get very far. So I suggest you look for a better school so that you can go back to Form 2. Yeah. And then now we proceed.
So let's be clear. Yes. She's also not telling you to find your own school.
Yes. But she's like, we cannot live with this shame. We cannot do this. So I told her, listen.
Funny, not funny.
So I told her, no, we don't go backwards, we go forwards. Okay, so I will not go back. I will not rewind a year.
Right.
What I will do is I will do my A levels. So I went and found myself a school and ended up at St. Mary's for my IB.
You mean since that one of us?
That one of us.
We stand for God and for His glory. Yes. The one where the president went to school.
Yes.
Allah, kumbe we're alumni.
Oh yes.
Oh, good one. So you do IB.
Yes.
Wow. Now, how does a girl, for you are yet to turn 18, yes?
Yeah.
Go and manage to knock on the doors of the Holy Ghost fathers and tell them I want to join this school? There must be some, and I know you are very unassuming, by the way. You're very self-effacing.
Oh.
There must have been some brilliance there because they took you in. Why?
So I don't know if you remember a teacher called Mr. Tindiabwa.
Yes.
Because the way that Saints is structured, you've got the head of junior school,
yes,
and then you've got the head of secondary school, and then you've got the head of
That's
IB.
True. Yes.
IB is not Kenyan system, so it was run like a proper business. You need to get your licensing from the International Baccalaureate system. You need a certain level of standard. It was a business. Whereas the primary and the secondary school were more the Catholic fathers' business, So all I did was I walked in, met Mr. Tindiabwa, told him, listen, my mother wants to take me back to Form 3. Please help me.
Yes.
And he looked at me, he's like, okay, let me see your grades. And this was just after midterm in fourth form. When I was in Ngara Girls. So he says, let me see your midterm results. He looked at my paperwork and he's like, where I don't know if you will make it here. Like, is there something you can add to your application to strengthen it? I told him, well, I can swim, which was a lie. I'm a good swimmer. I can golf. I can, I'll clean the grounds. I'll do whatever it is. The guy looked at me. I think he felt really, really sorry for me. He's like, okay, sawa. Report in January.
And the rest,
there we were.
They say is history.
Yes.
Okay, then now we so we do IB. Is that where the French comes in?
Yes. Well, because I'd done French in Ngara Girls.
Ngara Girls, yes.
And Ngara Girls is a very, very strong school in terms of languages, so that was okay. Sorry, excuse me. Then I did my French in Saints. That was one of my higher, because we had 2 levels of subjects. So that was one of my higher subjects.
Right.
Yeah. My lowers were chemistry, Swahili. Then I went to KU after that, which is really, really interesting because the reason why I was in Saints was because my mother was certain I would never get a passing grade to be admitted to a local university.
Exactly.
Once again, a huge shame because not only did they go to Alliance, they also went to the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
Now here you have a daughter who's constantly getting C's and D's. You're like, So the plan was always do your IB and get admission to an international school.
Right.
But then when I was in IB2, one of my classmates brought us a copy of the Kenya Times.
Right.
Because those days the Kenya Times would be the one to publish all of the names of the students who'd been admitted to uni. And she says, well, there you are. I'm like, you're lying. I didn't even apply for uni. Because in fourth form, they used to make you had to fill in an admission form. Ngara Girls was such a terrible school in terms of grades. Our headmistress actually said to us, you know what? If you want to apply for uni, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, it's also fine. Whatever.
Do your best.
So I hadn't applied, okay, but I had reached the passing grade, and the reason why I got into uni was because of my French grade.
Yes.
So it was those days, when they're trying to do that gender balancing.
Yes.
So this was the reason. Female candidate, strong grade, strong French.
Yes.
Admission, but I got admitted to Maseno University.
Yes. Wow.
Which I couldn't point out on the map.
You're right.
And I didn't want to go all the way to Maseno. My mother worked at Kenyatta University at the time. So I begged and pleaded.
Yeah.
She spoke to the joint admissions board, the university admissions board, and had me transferred to KU.
Right.
But now, because Maseno had admitted me for French, now in KU, I had to hustle to look for, what are we learning?
Yes. Yeah.
So I sat and I looked at everything, all of, what are we doing here? I don't want to study literature.
Right.
I don't want to study, so what do we do? What looks easy?
Yes.
So I chose sociology.
All right. I was going to ask. Yeah.
So I ended up getting myself into the sociology class, and then I think I attended like 2 classes my entire year because at the end of the first term, I started working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, it's a good thing that, and by the way, you've got to live stream this. It's spicefm.co.ke. And Europeans have been on your case, kidogo, but you would have been stolen. Rangi ya tao unaenda huko Maseno. One you'd have gone.
Okay.
So you start working.
Yes.
But were you're a day scholar? No.
Yes. Well, okay. No, I wasn't. Yeah. But what I do is when I could, I would attend classes.
Yes.
But I started uni in 1996.
Right.
And then started writing for the Sunday Nation. I used to do book reviews for the Sunday Nation.
How did that come about?
I think my first term of uni, first of all, I was a day scholar then.
Yes.
Because my mother worked in KU, remember?
There you go, yes.
So she would, every morning we'd go together.
And then
in the evening we'd go back together.
Yes.
But then I felt like a child.
Yes.
I'm watching my classmates over there.
Do 2 things.
They've got their 2 rooms with their juice and their juice and, they do their own laundry. Me, I'm still here being dropped off in need by my mom. So I told her, listen, we can't live like this. Second term, I want to get my own mini accommodation, and I want to start taking care of myself.
Yes.
So what we're going to do with the very first holiday is you will tell me which of your friends can give me a job, like a car receptionist thing. I don't know, whatever.
Yes.
Do you have any friends who needs, I don't know, I run errands. So now, because both of my parents were journalists.
Right.
Yeah. So my mother said to me, look, we don't know anyone, except fellow journalists.
Yes.
So why don't you go talk to, at the time, his name was Mundia Mushi, still is Mundia Mushi.
Yes.
But he was the editor of the Sunday Nation. And he had been editing my mother's column for years. So she says to me, listen.
What would mom be writing about?
Her life and her children, very embarrassingly.
It was one of those two lifestyle things, isn't
yes,
it?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So she gives me Mundia's number, and I call him up and I tell him, listen, I would like to start earning some money.
Right.
Can I write for you? He said, yeah, you know, what do you... So I thought to myself, okay, once again, my life is all about shortcuts. You work smart, you don't work hard.
I like that. Yeah, that's my mantra, by the way. Yeah.
So I thought to myself, how do I make money, on a regular basis? And I thought, review books for children. So I started reviewing books for the young nation.
Yes.
A children's book takes you like 10 minutes to read.
Yes.
And then you don't need to make the review complicated. You just say it is a nice book with colorful pictures. That is all the children need.
And it's only 55 bob.
Yes.
Press play.
And then I did my first review. They paid me 500 bob, and I said we have to make this a weekly gig because 500 bob was a lot of money.
Oh yes.
So I did book reviews, but remember now I have to travel to town, find the books, read the books. So it was light work.
Right.
Mundia then became the editor of the Saturday Nation,
Right.
or rather the Saturday Magazine.
Right.
Now, at the time in 1998, the Saturday Magazine was not a women's magazine.
Right.
It was lifestyle and entertainment.
Right.
So we would do a lot of entertainment features. I remember interviewing a group called Kalamashaka for the Saturday Magazine.
Yes, Keshaka.
I remember interviewing Cookie Gulman in Laikipia,
Wow.
about
You
her
went,
life.
you went all the way.
Yeah, went all the way to Laikipia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was broad ranging. But what Mundia said to me, he said to me, listen, we're starting this magazine and we want a dedicated book section. Okay. And I want you to be the editor of the book section, but it's not books for children anymore. It's books for adults. So you choose how, it's laid out. You choose what sort of topics you want. If you find an interesting book and you would like to interview the author of it.
Okay. This is after how long from when you study? Because you just want that 500 bob times 4.
Yes. Yeah.
After how long does it now Mundia calls you in and says, by the way, young lady, it's not just that one for toys.
Yeah.
It's now for everyone.
Yes.
What is that time span?
2 years.
2 years.
Started with the Young Nation in 1996, then transitioned to the Saturday Magazine in 1998.
Right.
So now I was earning, you see that 2K that I had been earning every month?
Yeah.
Now I was earning 2K a week.
Yes.
8K. You guys, I was
You're
balling.
Oprah.
People in K, you did not.
You are the boss. Huh?
I was balling a mad
You
one.
are Queen Bee, a good one.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So that's how I could afford to hang out with you guys at cocktails.
Exactly.
But the thing is, so I did the book reviews and then I found this Italian author who had written about the Kenyan cowboy community. Now, if you know the Kenyan cowboy community, they do not like anyone else.
Oh, yes.
And they especially do not like expatriates.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yes.
So she was writing about her observation as an Italian expatriate.
Look at KC's.
Exactly, And I thought to myself, this is such a beautiful story. So I went to Mundia and I said, can I, this is a great book. The author is in the country. Maybe you can send someone to interview her. And he said, so you go. I'm like, me, I don't write features. I'm not a writer. He said, no. Everyone starts somewhere. You go.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. Where I was intimidated. I had never done anything like this before.
You had never written before?
Never. Not a feature of that sort,
Yeah.
So I went, sat down with her, came back with what I thought.
Where you sitting with this person?
It was a restaurant somewhere in Kilimani.
So you've got a tape recorder, you've got a pen and paper?
Pen and paper. I always do pen and paper. I've never really gotten into tape recorders. I'm very old school like that.
Yes.
So I go, I interview her, and then I overdo the story. Like when you overwork dough, you remove the gluten, then it starts falling apart. That's exactly what happened to the very first story I ever did. I thought I did a good job. I wrote about how the wind was blowing in her hair and the birds were chirping in the trees, a level of unnecessary detail that the sub-editor at the time, she was called Joy Mutero, her sister used to work here, Ruth. So she takes the story, tears it apart, puts it together. When it came out in the Saturday Nation, I didn't recognize it. The only thing I recognized was my byline.
Yes.
And then I walk into the office and everyone is like, oh my gosh,
beautiful.
That was a beautiful story. And I'm like, okay.
This morning, and I said, I've got to ask Wayua this for the benefit of the listener, because they've got to learn from you.
Yeah.
Not everyone can tell a story.
Yeah, this is true.
And you're very, very honest, because we're going to talk about the podcast obviously later. But now, even the art of interviewing people.
Yeah.
It's a science.
Yes, it is indeed.
What questions were you asking, and how did you ask those questions of the Italian? Because this is your first one.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So there's a greenhorn who's listening to you right now.
Yeah.
And like, you mean even you guys get nervous? Did you do? You make mistakes. Of course we did.
Yeah.
Now here, obviously, one would assume, because now it's more about podcasts and YouTube, whatever. So there's editing, unless of course your life. What do you ask?
Okay, so I don't quite remember that very first one, but what I will say, the rule of thumb in general is to be genuinely interested in your subject. As in, you can't go there thinking about, I have a deadline, I have pages to fill, I have these important questions I need to tick off. It needs to be a conversation, like you pointed out earlier, you know? So you sit there, be genuinely interested. Listen. Ask questions like you would anyone. I mean, you know, when you're going on a date with someone, trying to get to know them, to figure out if you want to marry them or not. Ask questions like those. Who are you? Where are you from? You know, where did you start? Where do you end? So that was basically it. Yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to take a pause because this is now where it comes to transition. I was about to shove that one. Because we have gone now. We are officially entering the big leagues. But we're still in KU.
Yes.
What happens next? That is the question. But you know what? I also want you to ask questions because we're going to go into commercial break, then into the news. Wayua Muli is in studio. There's so much to unpack here, by the way. What are your handles there, love?
So that's at Ms. Muli on X and IG. And Wayua Muli on Facebook.
Okay. Now 0719012600. That of course is the studio number. Or get onto Spice FM KE. Tukona, do we have her poster? Very nice. Yep. So ask questions. But listen, if you're one of those Kenya Floaters Association, we are not looking for you today, by the way. Ask Wayua. It is all about Transformational Thursday, aspiring to inspire. What does she do next? And in terms of KU, how does that story end? We're going to find out from our guest, Wayua Muli, which is coming up after the news, which is on the way next.
Hey, Baba Boy, gasi meisha.
Et al. Mutume, otherwise known as Juicy Fruit. No, it was the answer to Juicy Fruit. It is sugar-free. There they are, Mutume, on this Throwback Thursday. And when we talk about Thursday, you know it's all about aspiring to inspire. Because this is that hour where basically, you know what, we give you people whose life journeys and life stories epitomize that word we call grit. She is somebody who basically, and you would say, born for the vocation, born to be, so to speak. First of all, Alianza Primo, Apple State House Primary. Then she went to City Primary, where, and if you're old school, remember on VOK, yeah? And then if you're at home, Yani, there was those toys who basically, they used to do classes on air, yeah. And I like the way she describes it. She says this is one of the original, if not the original podcast. Indeed it was. What was it called?
Hello Children.
Hello Children. She was Mary in Hello Children. And you know what, that was then, but since that particular time, then it's on to this is at State House, right? And then she goes to Pangani, Ngara Girls, sorry. Yes. And then it is all about we stand for God and for His glory. Who knew? St. Mary's for IB. Then we get to KU. At KU, where dear mama is a prof, ne?
Yes.
So she's teaching.
She's not teaching. No, she was in admin.
Actually, she's in admin.
Yeah.
And then at some point you say no. Look, she says, "Mom, we can't do this. I can't be a day bug. Yeah, we come home with you. It's like it's like we're in primary school.
Yeah.
Come to school with you, then in the journey we're off home. So she's got to look for money because then she's going to become a boarder." Bounces off. Were they on Kimathi Street at that time, by the way?
Were they who?
NMG. Were they on Kimathi Street?
Yes.
When you first went?
NMG, yes. NMG has pretty much always been.
Oh, yes, of course, because there's the old nation and then.
Old nation,
yes, of course.
Yeah.
So then she gets her first gig. 500 bob a week. And this is back, well, you know, she looks 12. But this is back in the day, man, where 500 bob meant a lot.
Yes.
And it was basically critiquing and reviewing children's books. Full circle, 2 years later, she's sent on her first mission where she's interviewing an expat who has told stories about KCs. Now, KCs are Kenya Colonials. Kenya Colonials are the Delameres of this world. Expat are those ones of Gigiri. You can see the difference there.
Yes.
Good, we're in the same WhatsApp group. Okay. And she's never done it before, but her boss tells her, you know what? Everyone has to start somewhere. That was how she delved into writing. So look at that journey. 11, she's on radio. By the time she gets to KU, she's now week 1, week 2. She's starting this gig. 2 years later, she's now writing, and it's for 2,000 bob a week.
Yes.
That, by the way, then takes it all to the next level, because eventually, in case you've just joined us, what that leads to is a journey that you talk about pathfinding. By the end of all of that, she comes to Standard Group here. She started the Pulse. Yes, she starts the Pulse, and then by the end of it all right, by the time she's finished, because I was looking for this thing, by the way, after 27 years, she then at NMG, she served as editor of the Saturday magazine in the Saturday Nation, and later she is the editor of the Saturday Nation itself. She also created and founded, and I told you this, Pulse magazine. She served as editor, True Love, East Africa, Eve Girl, and Eve magazines. And her last role in employment was at NMG, where she served as the lead for digital content products. I love it. She's now a content creator and producer and host and marketer of The Failure Effect. Thank you.
An incoming editor.
Hey, what am I talking? and then yes, and incoming editor of
Debunk Media.
Debunk Media.
It's an online publication.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for making time. Wayua Muli. Me darling, asante sana. Thanks for coming through. Hold on. What we usually do is that there's a round of applause here.
Thank you.
So, we before we left it, so now it's 2,000 bob. You started writing.
Yes.
Where does that take you next?
First of all, it got me in trouble with my French lecturer. Her name was Madame Dade. Famous. Oh my gosh, she was strict, but she was also really cool. I remember in first year, because we were used to learning French in English. You understand?
Sana. I mean, I was, there's a time I was in Kisumu.
Yeah.
And then guys were being taught English in Jango. Omera. Oronyaki watch. Good morning. Iwinjo. What?
Our very first French class, Madame Dade walks in and she's just spitting French.
But.
And then someone says, "Excuse me, we don't understand the word you're saying." It's the only time she spoke in English. It's like, this is a French class. You did not come here to learn English.
There we go.
You came here to learn French.
Yes.
You will learn French. If I ever hear you speak English in my class, you are out.
I love it.
Where?
Yeah.
Guys, she could form very quickly.
Right.
So literally, our French classes were us writing everything she said verbatim, as in she starts bonjour. We studied, French civilization, history in French. It was really intense. But half the time I wasn't in class because now, as my writing burden increased, and also because I was really, really determined. Remember, my first story had been torn to shreds. So I went to the sub-editor, Joy, and I asked her, what did I do wrong? And she's like, okay, it's a lot to explain, but this is, and she broke it down for me. And I swore that no one would ever do that to any of my stories ever again. That was the only lesson that I needed. And no one has ever torn apart my stories. In fact, my stories rarely get edited, apart from spelling errors, which everyone makes, because I do my best to do like a perfect job from the word go.
Okay, so I've known you're a perfectionist, so I was going to ask you, is it because you're a perfectionist, Ama, you're like, your pride was hurt? It's my pride.
It was a pride.
That's honest.
I never wanted anyone to ever tell me that was a beautiful story, and the only thing that I know is mine, or the words on the
Was
page
the byline.
is the byline. That was never going to happen to me again.
Right.
So I'm getting more writing work. And remember, because this is a lifestyle magazine,
Yes.
you're interviewing all sorts of people from all walks of life.
Right.
And then for some reason, I started getting these really odd stories. I don't know what my editors thought of me, but I was the one who would get the really strange assignments, brothels are opening in Nairobi.
Yes, yes.
Can you be a shara?
Yeah,
We need
yeah,
someone to
yeah.
go and investigate what
Yes,
happens in
yes,
those things.
yes.
Send Wayua.
Bus.
How easy is it to buy drugs in this town?
Bus. Yes. Send
Wayua.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember I would, because obviously accounts would give you a certain amount
Right,
of money to
right,
facilitate, but then
right.
you have to account
For
for it.
every yeah.
When I came back from the brothel story,
Thank you.
the accountant looked at the receipts.
Yes.
So there were these, those Karatasi receipts.
Yes,
that
exactly.
find
You just
in
buy
the-
it. Yeah, yeah.
But the drinks
Yes.
were like, at the time,
Yes.
Tusker, I think, was like 80 bob.
Right.
But now at this institution,
But-
where I had to pay premium
Yes,
to
yes.
talk to the
Yes,
ladies so
yes.
that they could tell me their
Yes,
story,
yes.
I had to pay 300 bob a
But,
pop,
yes.
because now you're also...
And this was them.
But
Yes.
yes.
And you've also got to
because-
buy them pints.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're also
Yeah.
supplying the
Yeah.
tip. That's
Yes.
how they're making their
Yes.
money.
Yes.
So this accountant looks at my...
Jeff, I'm talking like I know you. Okay. Yes.
This accountant looks at my receipts and he's like, but these are class D establishment
Thank you.
prices,
Yes.
but they look at the receipt.
Yes.
How am I supposed to? So
Yes.
I tell him, no.
Yeah.
You want me to take you to the brothel? You go
Yes.
and ask them.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, you know what?
Yes.
So he
Yeah.
signs off,
Yeah.
gives me, writes off whatever
Right.
amount
Yes.
I owe.
Yes.
A couple of weeks later, I go back.
To the brothel.
No, because now it's the drug story. See,
Yes,
I've gone,
yes,
I've bought,
yes, yes, yeah,
things
yes,
from the streets, pedis, whatever.
Yes.
So I go back and I tell him, okay, here's the change
Yes.
left from the money,
Yes.
but I don't have any receipts.
Receipts. Thank you.
So he's like, why don't you have receipts?
Yes.
I mean, how do you do a story and you don't bring receipts? I'm like,
I've just
you tell
bought
me-
cocaine.
Yes.
Yes, who's going to
You
give you a
tell me
receipt?
who's going to give you a receipt for
Yeah,
heroin.
right.
Like, here's a gram of heroin. Nice doing business. The third time I went to him, I can't remember what story it was. He's like, I don't even want
Yeah.
to hear it. It's okay. It's okay.
You've got carte blanche. You do you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, my grades were suffering
Right.
because I would leave KU in the morning,
Right.
report at NMG, and then go back to KU in
Right.
the evening,
Right.
picture by my friends' rooms so that I could get their notes
Bus.
for the day,
Yes.
go spend the night transcribing, and then go back to work in the
And
morning.
mom is none the wiser. Is she still there?
Well,
At that point, was she still there?
I think for her it was, she thought I was balancing everything fairly well,
Bus.
but for her it was mostly I didn't need any pocket money from her, so she
I
was,
love it.
It's okay, whatever.
I love it. I love it. What's driving you at this point?
Right now it's just the fun of it, there was opportunities for travel, there was looking forward to, and those were the glory days of print journalism.
I like that.
Newspapers were big,
Yes.
back in that
Yes.
was how
Yes.
you have people like Masharia Gaido
Yes.
coming up,
Yes.
people like Whispers.
Yes.
Those days,
Yes.
a print byline was, a big thing. And I wanted to be just like them.
I love it. The first time, obviously, it wasn't your story because, as you said, Joy tore it up.
Yeah.
But you saw Wayua Muli byline. How did you feel?
Oh my goodness. So now the second time I saw it properly, because obviously the first time was moot.
Right.
It was always completely intensely proud.
Always.
Yeah, I mean
Always.
it's great.
Yes.
People chase that byline.
That's
like you
true.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Until it wasn't.
Yes.
Which happened around 1999.
Yes.
When immediately I graduated,
Right.
then NMG hired me, permanent and pension
Indeed.
board.
Yes.
So I spent the next 5 years between 99 and 2003
Yes.
being a cab reporter or writer, for the Saturday magazine. It was, I used to look at women in the newsroom at the time, and the glass ceiling was so low for them. Yeah, they would only ever get so far, and they usually ended up in the features side of the newsroom, But there were very few women in politics. There weren't any women in top leadership.
I remember all I can remember is the Roda Orengos of this one.
Yes, yeah. Rhoda Orengo was a brilliant editor, but again,
Glass ceiling.
Exactly. Because she only ever got as far as Business Daily, the life section, and the Saturday magazine. Okay. Whereas maybe she should have been the editorial manager or the editorial director. Maybe she did have all of those years of experience. She certainly had the political connections.
Why the bias?
I don't know. Newsrooms were very, very intensely masculine back then.
How did you break it?
So I moved sideways. Yeah.
Fafanua.
Okay. When you want a promotion, don't sit in the same business that you're in. Find another company and work for that one until the other company. Yeah.
That's the bite. I love this. Sorry, you'll find me and Jeff do that a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So find another company to hire you so you can show the company that you want the promotion from what exactly it is that you can do, which is exactly what I did. So in 2003, I was looking around the newsroom realizing, this business will never give me the promotion that I want. I will be stuck being a features writer for all of my life and I will never grow. So at that point, about 2001, 2002, I'd started doing 3 things. Every morning, I would get to my desk, switch on my computer, and update the date on my resignation letter.
Come on.
Because no one knew the day or the hour when I would say I have had it.
Yes.
Then the other thing I would do was log into 2 websites. So there was a magazine, an American magazine called The Star, which did celebrity gossip. Yeah. And then there was the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
That did.
No, that one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing that I loved about them was how they treated their celebrities so much irreverence and, with humor, and they would just rib them. Whereas in Kenya, we tended to treat them like gods at the time.
Yes.
So I'd read, both publications, get my fix for the day, and get along, go on with work.
Yeah.
October 2003 is the day I said I've had it. That was the last day I updated my resignation letter. This time I printed it out and I distributed it to everyone.
Why?
I think I was just, I don't know who had gotten into some sort of a strange fight with, but I was up to here.
Umeshiba.
Yeah. And also just the knowledge that I wasn't going to get far.
All right.
And then I was young, and then I was a bit impulsive, a bit hot-tempered, the Mary side tends to come out. So I went home. I wrote about this last week. I went home. I had a bed sit in Nairobi West. So I went home to make a bed sit. Yani, I didn't even have money for curtains. So I newspapered the windows. And I asked myself, where do we get rent from now? So a week later, I get a call from a gentleman called Mutuma Matthew. Now, at the time, the Standard was retooling.
Yes.
And so they had hired this dream team from NMG.
Yes.
Tom Shindi was the CEO. And Mutuma was the editorial director.
Yes.
So Mutuma calls me and he starts laughing. I will never forget. He didn't even say hello. He just started laughing at me. He's like, I hear you're jobless. I was like, yeah. He's like, come to the Standard. Come. Let me show you something you can do for us. At the time, the Standard was on Likoni Road.
Right.
So Mimi in a job, Likoni Road.
Yeah.
And he says, we would like you to do an entertainment magazine for us. Yeah. They'd conceptualized something, but it was a very standard, not standard as in the Standard Group, but it was very standard
ordinary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we can do much, much better with this. Give me a week. I will show you a few things. So I went, sat down in my house, and remembered every copy of the Star magazine and the National Enquirer that I had ever read. Started.
And hold on, you have not signed, you have not put pen to paper yet.
For the Standard.
No. Yes, for now in terms of employment contract, have you signed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a no-brainer. Of course, I wanted to work with Mutuma. He's brilliant. Who wouldn't?
Yes.
Plus, remember, see, I'm moving sideways in order to move up. So now, I have stopped being a writer. Now I have been given my own publication.
There we go. Yes.
There was absolutely no way I was going to say
I love it. Yes.
So I go home, put it together, pull it apart, put it together, pull it apart, pull out my copies of the National Enquirer, the Star magazine, and I'm like, yeah, we want a fashion cop section because we want to catch these celebrities when they're looking nasty, you know. We want to catch them out in the club when they're being drunk and disorderly. We need a anonymous columnist who can be spying on people, you know. We need paparazzi that are on point. So put it together. Took it to the Standard on the Coney Road. Mutuma liked it. Tom Shinde did not.
Right.
So he says, I don't think anyone is going to read this.
Wow.
And I'm like, I mean, you know what? We give it a shot. If no one reads it, then we have the luxury of being able to withdraw it and go back to the format that you wanted. And he's like, what are you even going to call it? I said, I don't know. So I said, okay, just go think of a name. Let me tell you, I Googled every name that I could find.
What kind of names you Singers in the Pulse is still there? Tell us, humans.
No,
with some of the first ones that came through your kyongos.
No, I can't remember. What I know is that I went through an alphabetical.
Okay.
It was
from A.
I started from A. And then I saw P and I was like, yeah, okay. How about, you know, it's called a Pulse. It's got a nice ring to it. You can do that little heartbeat thing, you know, which is how the advertising, you know, first started. So it's like, okay. So we launched December 2003, the Christmas week. It's a very bad time to launch a new publication. No one reads anything over Christmas. Okay. So I thought to myself, well, fine. If it's a terrible magazine, at least no one will have read the paper because it's Christmas week. So I can, you know, rest the embarrassment.
Right.
A week later, we were getting mad emails from guys like, wow, that magazine is the bomb. Can we have another one like that one? And it took off. And here we are.
21 years later. Your baby. And remember, it's still there.
Yes, it is.
And what are your thoughts of it now?
I think, I really think it should have transitioned into a standalone publication that would be independently on sale. But you see, the problem with a lot of legacy media publications is that they have been overtaken by the times. If I want, look at Sarah Kabu yesterday. We've already seen the videos. We have chambued her business. We've decided that is, she was being cheated on or whatever it is. Whatever the discussion, we have already had it. By the time gossip publication comes out on Friday, what is there to say? Because by Friday, maybe Caliph Cairo will be the one who's trending, but this gossip publication is going to press today or went to press yesterday for tomorrow. And yesterday, Sarah Kabu was the trending story. By Friday, she will not be.
And I said I was going to ask you that. So, I'm not going to ask you because you said we talk about legacy media and especially print media. And you know what? You did things like True Love, editor of True Love, Eve Girl, and you don't go to the CBD anymore. And I don't know if you as a listener, you do go to the CBD. But before, those two, I won't call them hawkers, but the guys used to have newsstands. And then, of course, indeed, the guys who used to sell magazines just perambulating up and down. They were huge. They were massive. I don't know if they still exist.
No. Right. Wow. It's hard to find a newspaper.
Thank you. You know what I mean? There's somebody who's listened to you either because it's the end of the year, college year is about to start in some jurisdictions, even here. Should we be going to media school to study print journalism?
I think there is...
Journalism?
Yes. One of the things my father told me very many years ago is there will always be a need for news. When you think about it, what were pigeons doing? See, they were sending news.
But
what were smoke signals doing?
The
it was news.
I like that. Yes. I like that.
So there will always be a need for news. What changes is the platform or the format in which you present the news. So a lot of people right now are on their phones consuming the news that way. Where are they getting the news from? I find that Twitter is the primary platform these days. To stay updated on what's happening. TikTok is the next best one. Yeah? Because that's where a lot of people get their not just news information, but also daily life information.
Right.
TikTok is great, by the way, for legal advice.
Yes.
If you need it. Because you've got all of these lawyers who are doing all of these short bits of information. It's great for medical advice as well. All you need to make sure is that whoever is giving you the information is verified and is credible. So that will always be there. I think there is a need for journalists to continue to study new media and to learn how to innovate. That for me is a key thing, because for many years journalism has focused on how to be a journalist. But I think we need to start teaching people how to understand the business of journalism. Because all of us are media house employers when you think about it. You know, you run your little
bus.
X.
Yes,
that is your media house,
right?
There.
Now, your editor of the Saturday end up. Okay, I'm talking about now as the editor of the Saturday Nation.
Yeah,
brilliant job. Okay, then as you say, you move sideways. Okay, because your last gig at NMG is that you're now lead for digital content products.
Yes.
And I saw that because obviously they put that their lovely face. I'm like, hey, well, you are a good one. Now she's got membership at Muthaiga. I'm gonna get
I wish.
How did that happen?
So it's very interesting because I got retrenched in 2018.
Yeah, and also this, let's be clear, this was a new department.
Yes, it was. Yeah. I got retrenched in 2018. So about 2 minutes after receiving my retrenchment letter, I was reappointed to be the editor of the Saturday magazine. At the time, it was a Saturday magazine, but now as a consultant. So it was just the terms that were different.
The P&Ps.
Exactly. And I also got my severance pay and continued to earn my salary. So that was good.
Right.
So the term was for a year.
Yes.
In 2019, I got a call, January, I got a call from NMG and he said to me, come back. And I'm like, maybe they're about to tell me they're terminating the contract altogether. So I go and I find that I have been appointed and promoted.
Right.
So this is when I end up doing the Saturday Nation. Now, that was 2019, which was a very, very strong year for journalism. But what happened in 2020?
COVID.
Exactly. So that flipped the script. People stopped buying newspapers. Okay. There was a rumor
because natives are not going out.
Yes, people aren't going out. Remember, a lot of newspaper sales came from office subscriptions.
Yes.
So
yes, of course.
Exactly.
Yes. I remember we discussed that. Yeah.
Yes, everyone is work from home. Yeah, so no one is buying papers. People aren't on the streets. Vendors aren't selling to anyone because the other source of traffic for newspapers is on the road.
Yes.
Yeah. And then finally, there was a rumor that newspapers give you COVID.
I remember that one.
Yes.
There was a lot of dumb things going around. Yes.
So that kind of it killed things and retrenchments for all media houses. Yeah, not just here, not just at NMG. Became the norm. You know, so there was need to pivot. I think the other guy, look at me using tech terms, pivot.
Yes.
We needed to pivot. So there was also a really, really big need for people to understand how to digitize content. Okay, because if everyone can only be online, then newspapers need to figure out what is your online strategy. Are we putting up paywalls? Kenyans don't like paywalls. Okay, we will find a way to steal the news for some reason, or we'll read the headline and we're okay with that as far as this is all of the story. So what do you do? You know. So my the head of editorial at the time was Mutuma Matthew, and he called me into his office one day. He's like, you know, I think you really need to consider heading into a more tech-driven business because it'll be good for you. It'll broaden your knowledge base. It'll give you a chance to run your own profit and loss section and try new things. I mean, give it a shot. So I want to make you the head of this section called New Ventures. And that's what it was. So the whole point was to create digital content that people would feel happy paying for. This, for me, the way that I visualized it, wouldn't be news content. It would be information content. So when, let's take a website like WebMD. Okay. You go there because you've got symptoms. I've got a headache,
Yes.
I'm coughing.
Yes.
What does this mean? So you go to WebMD and you Google. That is exactly what I wanted to do, like for the health sector. Create usable information, information that was very, very personal to you, so that you could come to our website and check, how am I feeling? Am I coughing? Is it a headache? Is it COVID? And where can I go for treatment? So you can monetize that by leveraging advertisers. Let's say you're in the health space, you've created a health product, so you leverage hospitals. Or let's say you're creating education products, so you leverage schools, and you create products together with these schools. So for example, you could do school transport service, underpinned by the media house that is running, that education product. So that was the thinking behind it. It was good. It was good, but it was a difficult time to sell those products,
Because it is DC, it's during COVID.
Yes.
Let me ask you something. There used to be a football player called Mario Balotelli. He used to play for Manchester City.
Yeah.
And when there's a time he scored a goal, then he lifted his T-shirt and said, "Why me?" What was written there on his vest was, "Why me?"
Right.
Because he's like, why is it always me? But him is obviously because he was always in trouble.
Yeah. Okay.
Why you though? Because you always, and Matthew was obviously, you're a genius. Is it because, did they know? But I mean, it's always like, if you want the Midas touch, she can do it. And there's going to be no doubt about it. They knew. Did you know?
No. I just always thought myself intensely lucky, I suppose.
Why and I like the fact that that's in the past tense, because you don't mention it now, because you're still doing things.
Well, yes.
So the luck ran out because now it's skills, is it?
It has to be skills. I think for a long time, and especially when you're working during COVID and things are very, very difficult.
Chief, yeah.
And you're watching the retrenchment cycle happen over and over, it gets to the point where you start to think to yourself, it's about time.
Come on.
Yeah, I know it will be my time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So eventually I got retrenched again.
Yes.
In 2022, and I completely understood.
Yes.
But by then I had been thinking about doing something for myself, with myself. Remember, I've got all of these years of leadership behind me, newsroom leadership. I've got great connections. I can write, but working in the tech space has also given me digital, tools and skills and knowledge that I thought I should put that to good use.
Love it. That's the best place to segue into commercial break. Because now we've left the newsroom.
Yes.
Then we're getting into the digital space.
Yes.
And you hit the ground running. The failure effect.
Yes.
Pulse, you went alphabetically from A to P.
Yeah.
Failure effect. I mean, it is so resonant. Were you there carrying a carton? You're like, that's a good one.
Yeah, I actually brainstormed this with someone, and we were looking for a name that would work. So I said, it should be about, how do you take failure positively? And we thought, fail up. So I went, and obviously, when you're setting up a podcast, the first thing I will tell you, please Google your name, because it is important for the SEO.
Hey, now that is French. Jeff, I know you understand SEO. What is SEO?
Search engine optimization.
Come on.
Yeah, it's how to.
Now we want to go to school. And we're going to do that after the commercial break. But before I want to put the issue of the newsroom to bed. Obviously, I mean, you are a pathfinder on so many products. And now that and you edited Saturday Nation.
Yeah.
Wayua, the biggest weekend newspaper in Eastern Central Africa. When your story is told, in terms of the newspaper part of your career, what will be the chapter 9? Oh,
chapter 9. I think the art of, well, okay, so here it is.
Yeah.
Being female in the newsroom is hard enough as it is. Being a female leader in the newsroom is even harder.
Come on.
Because people expect you to be motherly.
Yes.
And sweet and nice and accommodating, but you've got deadlines and you need to be tough and you need to be strict.
Right.
There are a lot of people who will tell you I am, difficult to work for. I am. It's not that. First of all, I'm really shy, very introverted.
For those who didn't know,
it takes me a lot to say hello to someone because half the time I'm just wondering how will they receive me.
Do you know to be honest, and because you're my friend, I used to be like, how is my pal going to manage with these people, baby? How does she do it?
Right. Yeah.
Because knowing you socially, and then so it's like you put your Batman suit on, do you?
Yes, I do. You definitely have to take on a persona. You have to step away from yourself because really, if you ask me, I'd much rather be just in the house by myself than out there socializing. I get very nervous and I am completely socially awkward. Which is why I chose print journalism because then I wouldn't need to be, on TV or on air talking to people. I could just rest behind my byline and it would be okay.
Right.
So here I am. Now I'm leading all of these publications and people expect me to be sweet. I'm like, if the minute I let down my guard, people will realize just how afraid of people I am and then they will take advantage of me. So yes, I was a bit prickly, but I had to be in order to do the things that I needed done. So I think that's what I talk about, how to get over yourself.
I like that. I like that. It's just because of time. But you got to come back. Before we talk about now the digital space, well, we would be remiss if we go on without talking about the magazines.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you started Pulse. I can't say that enough, but I'm talking about the true loves of this world.
Right.
Was it when there was a point when they were being distributed by NMG, right?
Yes.
Was it at that particular point, or this is totally separate?
No. It was while it was a joint venture with East Africa magazines.
Right.
So what happened was I got really exhausted by Pulse because you're out every night in the club.
Yes.
It's and then things got worse, but this is another job that we'll talk about.
Right.
Pulse was a weekly thing.
Yes.
So Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and those Kenyan 8 on Tuesday, and then those G Watch on Thursday, and then on Wednesday, a Rock night, and then Friday, and then so by April 2005, it was a wrap for me. So I got a call from the Monitor in Uganda.
Yeah.
To go and be the features editor for the Monitor.
Right.
So I did that for about 9 months. Then I came back to Nairobi.
9 months. What? The culture shock? Language barrier?
Depression. It was homesickness, which homesickness is a form of depression.
Yeah, which is true. So what is it? You couldn't get over the fried pork, or these guys drinking beer with a straw? What was it?
It's very difficult to be a young, single Kenyan female in Kampala.
Yes. No, Jeff, not those thoughts. Stop it now.
Anyway, you have to be. Uganda is definitely a country that is for marriage. People get married very young, and you get your respect when you're married. So that was, and then Kenyans are considered aggressive and we're loud,
bus. And you can't talk to the dudes a certain way, and you're the boss.
It was this, So I came back and started. There's a magazine called Eve.
Yes.
And once again, Mundia Mushiri, who was the owner of Auckland Media and the owner of Eve magazine, asked me to create a younger variant called Eve Girl.
Right.
That was such a fun job. We used to throw the best parties,
Right.
And then I graduated and became the editor of Eve. And then Auckland shut down, at which point I became the first society editor for The Star.
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed. Yes. Yeah.
Before Dickie.
Yes.
So now that was a really tough job because I was editing all of the columnists.
Yes.
So Monday to Friday, it was my job to commission their pieces,
Right.
to edit them, to direct them,
Right.
and to mentor them.
Yes.
But then, because I was only one society editor,
Right.
it was also my job to go out every day
Wow.
looking for gossip.
Yes.
Where 7 months later, I was like, I can't do this. You're in the club every day
Yes.
except Sunday.
Yes. Yes.
It was really difficult. Half the time I'd be falling asleep at my desk because the sheer exhaustion of everything. So when Carol Mundy called me and said to me, come. There's something I need you to do for me. I was so eternally grateful. So she says to me, I want to transition into the role of publisher for East Africa magazines, and I need someone to take over True Love. And you can do it. Now, Carol Mundy, very beautiful woman, very, very graceful, very Christian, very married, and then me.
What are you talking?
So I asked her, are you sure? She's like, yeah, you can do it. I was like, but I'm not you. So she says, no, you can do it. And I did. She took me on, trained me, helped me. And there we are.
You know, where you they say if you are looking for a free meal, just go to any hotel, say your media, then you're inside. Free lunch. Just go check. Did you hear function media and inside? Where would you find stories? These days, people send stories to you.
Yeah.
And back in the day, man. I mean, where do you go to? I mean, obviously, if you're looking for politics, those days you go to Intercon because the Wabunges would be hanging there.
And Serena. Yeah.
But when you're looking for Mushene about what Kinamonski are up to, where do you go?
Okay, so what I did, when we set up Pulse, every person on the team had a sector. There was the guy whose job was to speak to the Ganga guys. There was the person whose job was to speak to the upmarket, nameless and whatever. So your job was to manage public relations. So if we do a terrible story about, let's say, Prezzo. Prezzo will call his person at Pulse and start complaining, and that person's job is to say, imagine I'm going to talk to them. So, but what I did when I set up Pulse, the very first thing I did was call up my old connections. So, for example, I used to worship in the same church with Wahoo way back in the day. Eric Ndavi was a great connector of people.
Indeed.
So may his soul rest in peace. But he would always manage to bring people together. I had, so there was a church community, those you guys, the advertising crowd, and through them, there was always someone who had someone's number.
I love that.
So what I did was I called each of them up and I said, look, I'm doing this thing. Please, come on board. This is how it'll help your career as an actor, as an actress,
So it used to make sense back then. Your network is your net worth.
Exactly.
Does it still resonate now? Seeing as in, and you mentioned that yesterday, Storo, because now it's here.
Yes.
I don't need to know you.
Yeah.
It's just, pun intended, light, camera, action, press play.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens next. The digital space, because this is where, honestly, one, you fascinate me, and two, I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
So we want to talk about that next. And we're live on Facebook. And by the way, if you've got that Swali for Wayua, there's so much to unpeel here, isn't there? 0719012600 Spice FM KE. I trust you are learning. What are your handles there, my love?
At Ms. Muli on Twitter and IG, and Wayua Muli on Facebook.
See yourself. There, Wayua. And you're live. So Bill, you say hi there. I'm following the show from my office here in Nairobi, and I'm so inspired with her story. I worked for Nation for 10 years as a journalist, looking at the media space. I had to quit this year and started my own network, Prime Africa Channel. I love what I'm hearing. This lady, has well understood the media space. Mainstream journalist should be a little bit more concerned about the future. Good thing is, news will always be there, and we will always be here to deliver. Speaking of new things, man, we've been going on a break for a minute. We're going to talk about the failure effect.
Okay.
And then also, there's a new venture that you're starting next year, which is next month.
Next week.
Wow. News bulletin. But you know what? Yes, indeed, it is Thursday. And every Thursday, listen, before I tell you once again, if you just joined us, about our guest on Transformational Thursday, from 2006. I mean, surely. How is this even a competition, by the way? How do they even compete? Linda, you totally agree with Wayua and I, where we say it's definitely the boys of New Edition who have got the biscuit on this one. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with Linda, Wayua, and myself? Do you agree with New Edition with Can You Stand the Rain, the original one from 1988? Or are you stuck on Boys to Men from 2006? Well, you and I have voted. We need you to vote. Get on to Spice FM KE. It is X, yes? Mm-hmm. And then get Record Rumble. It's either Boys to Men, this version from 2006, or the original one, New Edition, 1988. Can You Stand the Rain? Vote now. And then Tutonge Kiwase in about 30 minutes. Now, in about 20 or so minutes. Yes, it is Thursday. It is Transformational Thursday, where we aspire to inspire. We bring you stories of people whose life's journey basically epitomized that word we call grit. And hers was pride. She says, you know what? And the first time she wrote that article, and it was torn to shreds. And the byline was her.
Yeah.
But nothing else was. After that, it has been a journey of indeed perfection. All right. She has been a pathfinder and a peer in so many things. For all intents and purposes, the one that you need to know. She was, talk about the glass ceiling when we talk about and we talk about newsrooms. And it's 2024. We're streaking to 2025. She started out the Pulse. In terms of the name, the Pulse, she chewed a brain lock, but then she went through alphabetically from A, she got to P. She's like, okay, that makes sense. It's still there today. She was last, when we talk about in the newsroom, she wound up being, when she wound up in the newsroom, it was as editor of the Saturday Nation. Good job. She's edited True Love, Eve magazine. She's done things, but then now it's all about the digital space. Mm-hmm. Because her last job in media was as the lead, and this job was just created, and then they're like, she's the one who's going to do it. Lead for digital content products at NMG. Then come November 2022, literally 2 years ago.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, out major. She retires from there. Okay, she says actually she was retrenched. And then it's not about sitting down and wallowing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, you give yourself time to wallow.
Yeah. That's important. Eh?
Yes, I gave myself all of December to just stare at the walls and feel sad.
Is it because it was December? Even if it happened in March, would you have done it in April?
Yes, I definitely. But you need time to heal.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is that important?
Yes.
These days, they say at therapy.
Well, if therapy is the route you choose, whatever it is, but take your time to process whatever it is that's causing you pain.
Did you put a timeline to that way?
Yes, I did.
So you said it's just 4 weeks?
I said you have until December 31st.
Very good.
January 1st, you'd better wake up and hit the ground running. But,
Now, you literally hit the ground running because now you're trending.
Well.
And but in January 2023, and we've discussed, you now set up a podcast.
Yes.
Called The Failure Effect. love the title.
Thank you.
Is the title, the first I smiled. I laughed. I said, that is so, I know I used a cuss word, but I said, that is so Wayua. Bloody brilliant. Why that title though?
Because we have stigmatized failure.
I love it.
You know, but essentially failure is just a
part of
learning
life.
experience,
Yes.
and it is a part of life.
Yes.
When I left NMG, and I think that was part of the inspiration behind it, I definitely felt like I had failed.
Right.
With my job at New Ventures.
Yes.
I wasn't quite, all of the circumstances weren't working in my favor. And I thought, well, there must be a positive lesson that someone can take away from it.
Right.
And I don't want to go home and feel like a failure.
Bas.
I want to know what can I take from this and how can I apply it positively. And then there are other people who also have similar stories. Now remember, during COVID, a lot of businesses were shutting down. So you had a lot of entrepreneurs walking around feeling like failures. And I thought we need a small community, a place where we can come and process, and people can share their stories and say, yeah, I lost my business, I got auctioned, my marriage ended, I had the mental health challenges, and look at me now, thriving. Yeah, just to keep other people encouraged and to let them know that whatever they're going through, it wasn't the end of it, especially during and post-COVID. So I set it up, and I suppose this is the place that you are interested in hearing what happened after I set it up.
Yes. No. But before you,
Yeah.
how important are titles were you?
No, they're extremely important in terms of the name of the podcast. It's really important because it needs to be snappy and to communicate the message.
Come on.
What I like about the failure effect is the logo, because it's an F+. If you have survived the school of failure, you deserve that F.
Listen, did you get a creative to come up with that?
Yes, he did.
I love it.
He actually went and synthesized what are we. How do you best transmit, the ethos of the podcast?
Right.
And I loved it the minute that I saw it.
Right. Now, you spoke to my producer. Mm-hmm. He spoke to you to get you here.
Yes.
Right. And I told him, I asked him, we got to get it for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's short notice, but so basically he told your story.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're here.
Yes.
Which means he convinced you.
Yes.
So my point is, everyone has a story.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And usually, and Jeff doesn't say a lot. Mm-hmm. But these days, when we were starting in this vocation, there was a very, very, very morbid fear of a microphone.
Yes.
Now everyone is drawn to it like a moth to a flame.
True.
What is and because this is now where I really want you to go to class.
Okay.
All right. Because you said that, and we were speaking off air. First of all, what's the difference between, in terms of, because it's all about revenue, okay? Not about content.
Yeah.
Because that's a show for a totally different day. Mm-hmm. To make money, what does one need to do? Because you said podcast, and you remember some people like myself, we're like, yeah, we want to start, but we want it to be quality of Wayua standards.
Right.
All right, the failure effect.
Okay.
Then I see people who, there they are, they walk into the bathroom at, Sarit, your city, and then they take a video, and the next thing I know, it's got 15, 25,000. Okay. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Is there a secret? Do you need a plan?
Half the time I find, okay, personally, let me put it like this. I find that if you're rigid about sticking to a plan, you will not get very far, because you need to be able to work with the market and adjust to what people want. You will learn a lot if you're doing your own content creation. You will learn as you go along. For example, the Terrence creative of today is not the Terrence creative of 5 years ago. The Jugush of today, the guy who comes up with those two political skits, commentaries, is not the same Jugush from 5 years ago.
We were talking about this lady, Lynn Ngugi.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Lynn Ngugi has managed to pivot her show. So it's, you learn as you go along. So have a plan, yes. But the most important thing is to do content that resonates, that connects with the people. And it's really great that you've brought up Lynn Ngugi, because what sort of content does she do? Wayua stories. My husband beat me. My husband. That's the stuff people really love to hear. You listen, you shed a tear, you know.
Now, then here comes the irony, and you see, thank you, Wayua, because now you're teaching me.
Right.
Now the failure effect. Now we're going to go back. We're not talking about failure effect as in terms of in reference to now 5th of December 2024.
Right.
But let's go back to the can we call it the premiere episode? Is that what it's called in this space?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
It is somebody who's trending in this season.
Yes.
I've got to be very careful here. For failing. But when you interviewed him, he was the next, and he was your first interview.
Yes.
He was the next best thing to sliced bread.
Indeed.
So the failure effect is not about failure per se.
No, it's about being positive about failure.
I love this.
Yeah.
So you get a cat called, can I say his name? Are you nodding yes or no? Okay. So we talk about a cat called Caliph Cairo.
Yes.
Why him?
Because first of all,
and this is in Jan 23.
This was we actually did the first meetup, because usually what I do with all of my guests is I take them out for a meal, or we have a conversation where I get to learn their story.
There we go. Yes.
And then now we do the recording after that. So I took him out for lunch because we'd been, bantering on Facebook, for a couple of months. Then I think we started inboxing, so we DM'd, and he told me he had always been a fan of my writing. And I said, it would be great to interview you, because you look, at the time he was working with Imports by Cairo.
Sure.
Okay. So I said, you're young, you're successful, you like to share your story. I'm setting up this podcast. Will you be, my very first interview? And he said, oh, of course, as a huge respecter of your writing, I will, I'll grant you the interview, no question asked. Now, the reason I asked him was because Imports by Cairo had just kicked him out. And it was a very contentious battle.
Sharp.
So he was in Singapore, I think, at the time when he got frozen out of the email, accounts from the business, got frozen out of a bank account, found himself, abroad.
Wow.
Without a cent, It was just a dramatic story. So I sat him down, and we did the recording. He was very forthcoming. That was great. There's a lot of, because this was the first time he had ever spoken to anyone, about anything. So now he's got Lynn Ngugi. I think he's got his own YouTube channel and stuff. But that was the first story that he ever told about his experiences. So I was telling you earlier, when you start a YouTube channel, you need to get to a certain number of views and a certain number of subscribers before they put you in the YouTube Partner Program, which is where they start putting ads in your content or on your channel for you to make money.
Right.
So the YouTube Partner Program is their monetization,
And when you talk about you're talking about Stato.
Well, for everyone.
Yes.
Everyone with a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah?
Okay.
So at the time, I think they've reduced it to you need 1,000 subscribers. At the time, you needed 4.
4 Gs. 4,000.
Yeah, I think 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
And like about 5,000 hours in order for you to get into the YouTube Partner Program.
What do you mean by 5,000 hours?
As in, people have watched your videos for a combined total of 5. So whether you, Kwach, if you've watched 10 minutes and then me, I've watched 2 minutes together, they should all come to...
That's why you said it takes about a year, 2 years for you to commercialize the damn thing.
2 years is the standard.
Wow.
Okay. So I got into the YouTube Partner Program in 13 days.
Hold on. Just wait there just 1 second. Good job.
Thank you.
What was that because of the interview?
Yes, it was definitely credit to Khalif Cairo.
Was that luck, or was it because Wayua Muli knew exactly what the hell she was damn doing?
I would like to think that I knew what I was doing.
But now it is grown.
Yes, it has grown. It's been on pause for a bit because it is a very expensive venture.
You were talking about you're putting figures down to it.
Yes.
So I want you just generally in broad strokes, not because obviously standards are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But generally what it takes, because you talk about production facilities, but
Yes.
some people will record themselves at home.
Yes.
And then, like we say, standards, some would say makeup, and then some would say, but you don't need makeup. Then you talk about wardrobe. But generally, there's a cost implication.
Yes.
Do you find that holds people back?
It does. I mean, unless you're going in with sponsorship, it's expensive, it is costly. And you realize, for example, if you're recording yourself at home, I tried it, by the way, doing an audio-only podcast in the house. Maras, someone has switched on their water pump, so now it's bzzz, someone is knocking on your door, there's a toy crying.
Yani, you've seen a lot in your life. Being on these streets that we call media, but then you make it sound like that was such a traumatic experience.
It's okay, we're not doing this thing.
So you say you can do that, but it's obviously we're not talking about OnlyFans. We're talking about trying to do something. It's not something that you would recommend.
I mean,
I use that word very carefully.
Yeah. Well,
if advisement.
I think you will realize that recording a podcast is not just about putting your voice, or recording a vlogcast isn't about just being in front of a camera. You also need to edit it. You need to find your end credits, your what is your jingle, what is your tune, what does the logo look like. The production is harder than doing the actual work itself.
I like that. That's honest.
So if you do not have the equipment, if you do not have, a lot of people will say, but you just get CapCut on your phone and then you edit. You cannot edit anything more than 25 minutes on your phone.
Yes.
It will pressure you.
Right.
Yes. So, I mean, think about all of those things. I admire, Adele Onyango, for example, she started her own podcast. It took her about 2 to 3 years, I think, before she started making money from it.
Wow.
And she doesn't make money from it from the streams necessarily, because she has a lot of partners and advertisers that she works with. Now, you guys in radio, you already have the skills, you have the voice, you have the bylines, so to speak, that would allow people to say, oh my gosh, Edward Kwacha started his own podcast. So if you have those skills already, then you would know what to do with it. You've been sort of like, I don't know if you would call it editing, but you control. So you know what it takes to get the sound correct. Yeah, you know what it takes to cut the segment and insert that segment.
I want you, because there are various things that you're doing.
Yeah.
First of all, and I've always appreciated and loved your honesty. So why do you, people like us, because you've brought us to the table, right? Find that a lot of people in this space, the Edward Kwachas of this world,
right?
We want to, but we are reluctant to start. Why do you find that is? Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have. I think because it takes a lot of discipline for starters.
That's true.
And then again, the equipment and the facility costs will hold you back. It's so much easier to come here and record on someone else's dime using someone else's equipment. But what do now you in your house, do you know where to buy the microphones?
No, you know. Because I was actually having a conversation with somebody and she was like, I'm like, what do you do? She's like, now I build studios. So studios for who? Because obviously when I imagine a studio, I'm either a music recording studio or this studio. Yeah. And I look at it and I'm like, no. Yeah. Not to disparage, but no. Says, no. A lot of people are building studios in the house.
Yes.
I'm like, Allah.
Yes.
You mean? Yes. And says, yes, you can do it for about 200 Gs. Kwenda huko, yes. But speak of it, so a lot of people are doing it.
Yes.
And which means the market is now saturated. And as somebody, I saw a guy, and honestly, Wayua is no. And I've seen people who, yani, they're like, now I'm getting into podcasting. And in my mind, I'm like, but why? Okay. So no, because I know people.
Okay.
Fantastic. You're now doing also something that is, to me, what we have lacked and what you do not get in school.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And also what you might not find on YouTube, because everyone, this is also a class.
Yes.
You can teach yourself.
Yes.
You know, how do I boil water? Google is your friend. You're also now showing, teaching, and mentoring. Tell me about that.
Yes. So it's difficult to sort of make money, I suppose, from a YouTube channel in Africa. I was telling you earlier, the advertising rates, what they pay per advert is much, much lower in Africa than it is, unless you're in South Africa, I assume, than what they pay if you're recording for the US or the Europe market. So I was telling you earlier, Caliph Cairo has the most views, but I earn less from his video than I do for an interview that I did with DJ Shinsky, because DJ Shinsky is US based. That's where his friends and family are. A lot of Kenyans listen to him, don't get me wrong, but because he's in the US and his community is in the US, ads on his interview earn more than they do on the Caliph Cairo interview.
That is important.
Yeah.
That's key. That's a takeaway.
So, it varies. I mean, people like to make assumptions, for example, about how much Lynn Ngugi earns per interview, because she's got all of these, 1 million or so subscribers.
Yeah, look at that. I'm like, damn.
But don't make assumptions.
Yes.
You do not know how much she's actually making from the channel. So I always say, if you're going to monetize, and what you need to do is leverage your podcast.
I like this.
Use it as your marketing sort of like shop front.
Shop.
This is how you advertise yourself. Then you find other ways to monetize. This is how I have chosen to do it.
Yes.
By helping other people set up their own podcast and holding their hand through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does one get in touch with you? Because clearly somebody is gonna do that tomorrow.
Right.
How do I reach? Are we talking about the Wayua Muli, or is that a separate entity? Is there a company?
Well, there is a company, technically. It would be called the Failure Effect, right?
Yes.
But please feel free to reach out to me. I think I'll find a place to put down the email address that people can use to reach me on. But I'm open.
No, tell us that email address.
So it's Wayua,
can you say it?
Yeah,
okay.
WAYUA at thefailureeffect.com.
Okay. Now, it's been 2 years.
Yes.
Failure Effect.
Yeah.
Have you had a bad interview? Did you it's all interviews, or sometimes you tell stories?
I do interviews. So people come on and I allow them to sort of like freely speak.
Because you get to know them.
Exactly. So we've had Sam Gishuru, on board talking about his experiences in tech. We've had Moniki Magaria.
How is Moniki doing?
Oh, he's awesome now that he's doing DNR. They produce the Nairobi Housewives, him and Eugene Bugo work together.
Yes.
But Moniki's story was particularly interesting because he had set up this film distribution business. It was a Riverwood type for local,
content
productions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's like, instead of getting like the Luo movie directors make movies only for Homa Bay, and then why don't we put them all together so that whatever your tribe, you will find a movie on that channel. So he approached a TV station.
Yes.
A local Swahili TV station, and they said, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll run all the movies. You go and collect them. So he went and he took movies from, Riverwood producers and made them lots of promises. The day he was due to deliver them to the media house, and this deal was worth 200 million, I think.
What?
that was the basis on which he was leveraging. Because there's no film director who's going to just give you their movie, loosely like that.
Yes.
You have to pay.
Yes.
So he made assurances. I am working with this media house. The day he went to deliver the movies, that media house shut down the TV station.
Yeah, that's a good episode of The Failure Effect. You can fire.
Of course, he did. So he goes on to talk about how he recovered the depression he went through. We've had people talk about marriage failure, Those ones I find particularly absorbing, because the thing about the failure effect, while it is for entrepreneurs, the thing is, all parts of your life are affected by your journey.
That's true.
And your journey affects all parts of your life. So can you imagine you're starting a new business, Kwach, right? That's about 2-3 years of you sinking money into it and getting nothing back.
Yes.
And being an entrepreneur is working 100% of the time. First of all, you start out yourself. You are the HR, you are the accountant, you are the CEO, you are the driver. It tires your spouse, who either has to support you financially, or is wondering, okay, where are we going with all of this? So you just quit and go back to work. Why can't life be the way that it is? So a lot of marriages tend to fail in that first 2-3 years of the entrepreneurial journey,
Like so, this. Do you know, I've got to ask you, because you said, first of all, take time to heal. Yeah, after that jolt of retrenchment.
Yeah.
Unfair question. But, and after, going through and basically talking about all these experiences.
Yeah.
Somebody listen to you right now and wondering, okay, is there one size fits all? How do I get out of a funk generally?
Oh no, there is not a single way to do it. You have to find the way that makes you happy. Some people like to lock themselves up and introspect.
Buzz.
I wouldn't recommend that too much, because what happens is you end up beating yourself up.
True.
Yeah. It is always best to find some sort of community. Talk to someone.
Sharp.
Yeah, I know it's very, very difficult when you're going through it, but find the time and the energy to, at least say good morning to someone, just one person, shoot them a text, that's all. The other thing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you're going through a funk, it is very, very important that you do one thing: get out of bed.
I like that.
What you do after you get up is really, you could go back if you want, but just get out of bed every day.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And for me, it started when I was in Hosi. Just get up, make the damn bed, and then do something.
Yes.
Even walk to the bathroom, brush your teeth.
Yeah, that's it.
Make the damn bed.
Yes.
I like that. Even if you're going to get back in 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
You're brilliant. Now, speaking of brilliance,
right.
Aside from the failure effect and all, the various webs and the tentacles, the directions that it's going, there's also something that is happening next week that is new to you.
Yes.
And it's editorial, but we said we are not going back to the editorial newsroom. This is in the digital space, is it? Tell us about that.
Okay, so I am joining Debunk Media, which is an online publication that was started by a journalist called Asha Mwilu, who used to work for for Citizen, right?
Yes.
And her business partner, Isaac Otidiamuke, who's a really brilliant writer.
Right.
So they started Debunk, to do exactly that.
To debunk myths and issues and stories.
Yes. And it focuses on people, politics, and pop culture. Those are the 3 thematic areas, although there's also different branches. So there's Debunk Women, there's Debunk Quarterly, which is a publication that they put together. Now, what I love about Debunk is the quality of content. These people do not half-ass their journalism. So for most journalists, what we do is we interview someone for 45 minutes, and then we assume we know their story. But if you do not take your time to observe your subject, then they can tell you whatever and get away with it, because we haven't bothered to investigate them.
Oh, yes.
So what Debunk does is they take the time with their stories and their interviews. So you get a quality of story that's very much like Vanity Fair.
Oh, those ones like they spend 2-3 days with somebody.
Yes,
such like things.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know,
oh, good one.
Getting to know them, querying the people around them. It's really, really quality journalism. So they started this during COVID.
Yes.
It's a good time to launch, an online publication.
Right.
And right now they're going through their expansion stage.
Right.
So there we are.
And that starts next week?
Yes.
Why halfway through December, darling? Oh, no. It's Jamhuri.
Well, technically,
Independence Day.
Well, I mean, but it's because it's a process. You kind of want to get to know each other. Yeah. Before you start throwing work at each other. Remember, this is not. It's not a newspaper. It's not you have to have something on that page by 5 p.m. because this paper needs to go to press. You can actually take your time with the story. So really, there's no rush and there's never a bad time to start.
I like that.
Yeah.
But you missed the stories.
I missed the stories.
What is it that you missed there? Because I know it's not the title, babe. What was it?
Oh, it's the opportunity to just do something really, really brilliant. Something completely different. And just, but I have missed the writing though. I have to admit.
The opportunity to do something really, really brilliant. And you have been brilliant, Wayua.
Thank you. Godspeed
on debunk and on the failure effect. So would you where do you see that? Where do you want it to be, the failure effect in 2 years? Because a lot of people get traction because of nonsense.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to stir the hornet's nest, but you see these fake news and then clickbait.
Yeah.
You've always been the principled sort. Will that work in the long term? Are you okay? So in terms of are we clearly you're not short. You've never been a short-term person. But is it medium term or long? Are you playing the long game on this one?
Oh yes, for certain. I think the one thing,
it's a legacy project.
It is, and the one thing that being retrenched as many times as teaches you is you never know when your journey is with the particular entity is going to end, and even if it lasts for a lifetime. Unless you're the owner, at some point you will retire.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And you've got to have something to retire into. And what I would really love is to become the failure expert, so to speak, because there's a lot of opportunities where you can teach failure lessons. I would love to do a university lecture circuit, for example, on the subject of entrepreneurial failure. I would love to write a book about getting over failure because we have a lot of that content, but a lot of it is American based, and that's a completely different market, different conditions. How do you survive failure in Nairobi? And even then, surviving failure in Nairobi is not the same thing as surviving failure in Kisumu. So it's just
so true.
Being that person who can host workshops, is invited, for panels and meetings. That's the whole aim. And then you form a little community of dedicated people who are proud to say, I have failed up, so to speak.
Oh, she is brilliant. Wayua Muli, thank you so much for coming on Transformation Thursday, my love.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's lovely to see you again.
Always. No, we've got to, now that we have your number.
Yes.
So, no, let's, I'm going to touch base with you, by the way, Kesho, weekend.
Okay.
If one wants to touch base with you, in terms of, we know about the advice.
Yes.
But mentorships, because I hope these campuses were listening. Man, as a writer. Boss, I was going to say goodbye without asking this question. Wayua, there you are. It is 50 years from now. You're sitting on your porch. Your memoirs you want to do. There he is. It's your biography. You've got your writer there. It's going to be an autobiography. What's going to be the title of that book?
The Failure Effect.
Lights, camera, action. That's what Transformational Thursdays are all about. Wayua Muli was in studio, man, and my lady, your hand was